What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today my buddy Jordan Reed dropped his first ever 2025 NFL mock draft, so we are going to be here to review it. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. It is the last time that you're going to be seeing my first overall board because there's going to be quite a few change-ups, so make sure you pay attention to it because you'll be seeing the differences very, very soon. I'm super excited because I have officially graded all the quarterback class that is at least going to be within contention for these selections. So let's get right into this. Let's have a great time. You guys are going to be getting a quarterback rankings video as well this week. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. So starting off with the number 1 overall pick, we actually had the Giants trading up with the Carolina Panthers to select Carson Beck. Right now, he is my quarterback 1 based on my board, but I can guarantee you he is not that on my new board. He's my quarterback 3, but he's still a very good quarterback. He has solid arm velocity, nothing crazy. And, Carson Beck has good maneuverability. He can make plays, but, overall, I do see sometimes where his processing, he'll miss guys who are wide open right in front of him, not with his passing, but just with his processing. So, definitely some things I would love to see Carson Beck improve upon. To me, he is a fringe starter. I don't know how much of an upgrade this would be over Daniel Jones, but I still think it would be an upgrade. At pick number 2, the Commanders go Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. Apparently there's a star. Is that because he's debating on going there? I'm a little confused about that. I mean, of course, I haven't started studying the edge class, so I don't get into the news and such until I start really digging in. But Mykel is a fantastic edge rusher. He was one of the guys who stood out to me when I started watching the All-American Bowl when he first was entering college. So that was the first ever All-American game I watched where I fell in love with him as a player. I would be super stoked to see him improve to the point where he'd be a number 2 overall pick. Will Campbell goes at number 3 to the New England Patriots. I'm not a Will Campbell guy. It says it is right there, but I can guarantee you because, again, I'm waiting until I actually grade a few more prospects before really revamping my board, because then we'll actually start having colors come back rather than it all being pink. But Will Campbell, to me, I do worry about him being a guard. I saw him have a very difficult time with guys like Dallas Turner who have superior length, and he actually performed quite well versus guys like Justin Oboigbe, who ended up, probably being defensive interior. So I do think his best role in the NFL would be an interior offensive lineman. But at the time being, I do understand there's not that many great tackles in this class, and the Patriots most likely would be needing a left tackle since Caden Wallace, I thought, should have been a guard as well. But maybe that makes sense why the Patriots would take him. I don't know. At pick number 4, the Panthers, via that trade back, go James Pierce. I love that for them. They got a bunch of guys who are, essentially stopgap edge rushers for the meantime. James Pierce is a fantastic player. At pick number 5, we have a trade. I'm so surprised. We got my boy Jordan here doing trades, and I do say that with my boy with a pinch of salt. I got to meet him there in Mobile, got to talk to him extensively. We've been able to text back and forth. So, again, somebody who I have a lot of respect for. I'm not going to say that Jordan's going to go out there and be like, yo, that's my friend. So, again, take it with a pinch of salt. It's someone who I have a lot of respect for that I've had the pleasure of being able to meet. And, I hope that, maybe we could bring him on over summer. I did send him a text earlier today, ask him about that. So if that's possible, that sounds awesome. I would love for that to happen. But anyways, the Raiders finally trade up for Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur is right up there with Carson Beck for me. His ceiling is fantastic. He does have an it factor for me. He is not my top quarterback in the class. I'll just spoil that right away. I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with Shedeur, talking shit about teammates, having a father that, as an older gentleman who's a leader of an organization is talking shit with trolls on Twitter. Genuine immaturity that got a potential number 1 overall selection in Spencer Rattler, who cleaned up his act, by the way, to slip all the way down to the 5th round. Now, I don't think you're going to see a similar slip, but it certainly could be an issue. It certainly could be something that you do see him slip to the 3rd round because, he's not God sent. I got to say that right now. He has probably the best processor out of all the quarterbacks I've studied in the class, and I've studied about 16 at the moment. And he has the best processor, but not by a good margin. It is very slight margin. He throws with some anticipation, but he doesn't have a crazy arm. he's not crazy athletic either. There's not much that makes Shedeur, like, there's this one guy on Twitter who likes to, troll around with me and said that, it's ridiculous that I wouldn't have Shedeur in my top 6 quarterbacks from last year. And I simply wouldn't. Like, I still think that there were 6, if not 7 quarterbacks that were better than Shedeur Sanders in last year's draft. And I think that's why he ended up not coming out. So it's not because he wouldn't be number 1. There's a whole ass PR strategy for the University of Colorado. Shout out to Dion for being a great, PR strategist until the offseason comes, and then he ends up showing his true colors. But Shedeur in Las Vegas would be awesome. I just don't think it would be here in the first round when all is said and done, because the leadership is a factor, because it's a multi-billion-dollar organization with, you're the head of it, you're the face of the franchise. If you're talking crap about players, not a good look. Not a good look at all. Denver Broncos then go Kelvin Banks Jr. He's my left tackle number 1 at the moment. Again, it's not saying very much. He's a fringe starter for me, but he has a lot of potential. I would love to see him go to a really good O-line coach. Honestly, I don't know of many teams that would be left tackle needy at the moment that could develop him probably better than a guy like Stoutland, and they don't need a left tackle by any stretch. So I don't know. Maybe if Kelvin Banks had switched to the right tackle, then the Eagles would be the best spot for him. But it's going to be a little bit tough when a lot of left tackles just went in the past draft. But the Broncos end up getting a really solid tackle. I still think he's a fringe starter, needs some time to develop. At pick 7, the Cardinals go Will Johnson. Fantastic corner. I usually like to save corners a little bit later because it's like my favorite position to scout. It's like that in offensive line, and primarily it's corner. I just love corners. So I'm going to be very excited. He's my number 1 player right now. I don't really see that changing, though. The reps I've seen, 6'2", 200 pounds, everything points to him being my favorite player in the class. And you guys know I'm willing to put my balls on the wall for a corner. I do it pretty much every single year at this point. But, Will Johnson would be an absolute steal for the Cardinals. Pick 8, the Vikings go Mason Graham. Super excited to go in the defensive interior class. I'd probably go to the offensive interior. Well, actually, I'm not too hyped up about the offensive interior class for 2025. But maybe I would go defensive interior because I am kind of itching to go after Mason Graham as well as his teammate. His name's slipping my mind at the moment. But, again, by watching Chris Jenkins, I've been able to watch Mason Graham. I've been able to watch his buddy as well. There's a lot of talent on that defensive front. Minnesota shouldn't be picking here, but I think it is Super Bowl odds. And, he's still unreal. Unreal talent. Pick number 9, the Saints go Abdul Carter. I don't know how much I trust Abdul transitioning to edge. I loved him as a linebacker, but I'm very excited to see what he's going to do. I love Penn State players. You guys know this. So, I'm really hoping that he ends up being in top 10 contingents. I'm just not sure at the moment if he will. At pick 10, Tennessee goes Luther Burden, slot weapon out of Missouri. I do think that they should go after more of a boundary receiver, but, this class does have quite a few really good talents. I got to admit, it does have some really good talent. But, Luther Burden's probably more of a primary slot, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, though, when all is said and done. I would just say that maybe Teteroa McMillan would be a little bit more up the replacement DeAndre Hopkins route. Then we have at pick 11, Travis Hunter going to the Seahawks. Super versatile player. Again, I probably should have read this beforehand. I don't really know what the asterisk is for. I assume it's at the moment, Colorado. It's not like they're in the transfer portal. But regardless, Travis Hunter, he definitely will never run out of gas. He will be able to play 100 plays and still be able to play 100 more. That's going to be very crucial in the fourth quarter. So I'd be very excited to see what Hunter brings to the Seahawks. Quinn Ewers then goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a big fan of Quinn. I hate to say it. I really wish I were. But he's a developmental quarterback for me. He's going to be in the latter half of my top 10 quarterbacks. His deep ball, just not great. When he gets in rhythm, he does have some special moments. But something I'm realizing about this class is that a lot of guys have 1 or 2 drives a game where they're in rhythm, and you get to see who they are. And then you realize that's not what you should be looking for, because then you'll see certain quarterbacks, which I will highlight at the top of my board, that are in rhythm the majority of the game and will have a drive or 2 that are out of rhythm. So, just keep that in mind. Quinn Ewers is more the type to get in a rhythm rather than get out of rhythm. And I would not be a huge fan of this for the Steelers, especially since we didn't end up getting A.D. Mitchell. But I'm just not a big Quinn Ewers guy. That's just me. So very excited to unveil that quarterback rankings video because I haven't done one of this style. And I mean, since the beginning of pretty much of last year, because last year's draft community was a little bit toxic on the quarterback front. Call me a wuss, call me a pussy, whatever you want to call me. But, personally, I felt like it was better value for me to give you guys content that you were looking for rather than fuel, the trolls. So, you guys got to see my opinions on my board for my quarterbacks the whole time anyways. Didn't really feel like I needed to emphasize some pretty strong viewpoints there. Regardless, Buccaneers go Benjamin Morrison. He's a little bit on the lighter side, but still a fantastic corner. He's my number 2 player in the class, so great value. Colts then go Malachi Starks. I love Malachi Starks. You do end up bringing on quite a few safeties in this past draft. Jalen Charlie's, though, completely different build of that 230 build. But, I do have to say, the safety room feels a little bit crowded at the moment to go Malachi. I would not mind it, though, because I really love Malachi Starks. But again, I would be trying to target, like looking at what's best on my board. Harold Perkins, a versatile like edge rusher / linebacker piece. I do think that is something of value for the Colts. You have already gotten your edge rusher, but maybe Colston Loveland, top tier tight end. Would love that as well. So just keep that in mind. That's where my head's at, but it's not a bad pick by any stretch. Chicago Bears go Patrick Payton. Super excited to see what he's going to do. He was going to fluctuate on Florida State, and now he's back. So love that for him. They did add in Austin Booker, and I think that's a reason why if you see the Bears go receiver over edge rusher, they might just be really focusing on getting an elite offense and then, making it do with the defensive pieces. That being said, I think Patrick Payton would be a massive addition because I think Austin Booker can't hold his own as a pure edge 2. And I think that's what Chicago wanted to draft him for. He's an elite edge 3 because he's, not the most athletic, 240 pounds, but he does have that high-end tape in bursts. And you can't have somebody who's going to be inconsistent on the defensive line every single play. Patrick Payton's a little bit more consistent. Chargers then go Teteroa McMillan. Would love that for the Chargers. Can you imagine that receiving core? Quentin Johnson, hopefully he develops, but then you got Teteroa McMillan as well as Ladd McConkey. Sign me up all day. Then we have the Jaguars going Denzel Burke. I thought boundary corner was one of the positions the Jaguars egregiously did not focus on in this draft. They did not address it. So I think Denzel Burke is a fantastic option. He's one of my favorite players in the class. Got better and better and better. Had a great true freshman year, slipped up a little bit in his true sophomore year, and then ended up actually getting better as the season went on. And then this past year, he really did start to flourish. And I think because of how many corners there were in the class, he said, screw it, I'm going to return. Now, it's not like there's too many less corners in this class, but I think that, with the lack of talent at other positions, the first defensive player will not be coming off the board at pick 15. So keep that in mind as well. Then we got the Browns going Emory Jones Jr., one of the tackles I have not studied yet, but I didn't see very much of an issue with Emory Jones. You get your right tackle, which is, it's going to be intriguing because you're going to have to kick him to left because you're trying to get Jedrick Wills' replacement here. And then, because you got Jack Conklin and DeJuan Jones. Yeah, they're coming off knee injuries, so there is some concerns there, but I do have my own concerns as to whether Emory can kick to left tackle. Granted, we saw the first 2 right tackles drafted kick to left tackle based on their team's projected depth charts by our lads. Pick 19, we got the Rams going Dayon Walker. I would cry. Why does the defensive interior for the Rams have to get even better? This is an amazing pick. It's just, to be fair, my buddy Brennan Jackson's now on the team, so bring on all the talent that I love in the world. I'm going to guilt trip him into making me meet Dayon Walker. But fantastic player, unbelievable build. I'm very excited to give him a grade. Defense interior might be the next position I grade. To be honest, looking at it, it's pretty awesome. And it's one of the positions that I have a good opinion of, a solid foundation. And I kind of want to be able to back it up with a deeper tape study. So probably the one that I'm most excited about. Falcons go Nick Scourton. I think he's transferring from Purdue to A&M. He was a stat machine last year. The Falcons did not address edge rusher properly. Apart from getting Braylon Trice, if he gets back up to 275 and plays like he did, to me, he was a guaranteed first-round player. So maybe the Falcons, in their atrocious capital management that they had during the draft, maybe they ended up getting themselves a good one. But if they don't, Nick Skeleton would be a really big plus. Now we got the Jets going Emeka Egbuka. I think that's honestly, for replacing Mike Williams, that's awesome. That's awesome. He's my number 14 player on the board at the moment. Might end up going significantly higher. We'll see when all is said and done. The Dolphins go Colston Loveland. He's one of my favorite tight ends in the draft, if not my favorite. And, I think he would have easily been my tight end too last year if he were coming out. So, this is a really good addition for the Dolphins. I still think they should be trying to look for a top-tier receiving weapon. There's a chance that Tyreek doesn't ever come back because he says once his contract is done, he's done. It's good to be able to get a contingency plan in place. Still want to go offensive line for them, but Colston Loveland is far from a slouch of an option. Packers go JT Tuimoloau. You got some aging edge rushers there, as well as some guys who are not developing as fastly or as fast as maybe the fans want in Van Ness and Enagbare. But JT Tuimoloau would be a good addition here. I have him as my 16th overall player at the moment. He is a very top-tier edge rusher, and I'm the guy who doesn't like him. Like that, just keep that in mind. I'm the one who's known as the guy who didn't like him coming into last year. I feel like this is a really good range for JT at 270, developing every single year. Who cares if he doesn't develop as fast as you wanted? The fact is he's still getting better. Harold Perkins then goes to the Texans at 24. He's my number 4 player in the draft, so pretty easy to deduct logically what I think of that pick. You got the Eagles going Danny Dennis Sutton. I have not studied enough of him because there isn't that much tape out there on Danny Dennis Sutton compared to, maybe what you'd want. That's because you had Adiza Isaac as well as Chop Robinson on the field. So super excited for him to take a full-time role. And it's like, he didn't really have, he started 3 games. So, obviously that's not an excuse for us not to know who he is, but I'm just excited to see a more expanded role. The Eagles, with the loss of BG as well as Josh Sweat in the offseason, will be looking for an edge rusher. At 26, the Cowboys go Evan Stewart. Man, he's an awesome receiver. I know I'm saying this about a lot of guys, but I'm finding out that there's a lot of very good players in this class very quickly. I think he's going to have an absolute dynamite year. And I honestly think that I could compare him to Devontae Smith. He's not as good of a route runner. So I would say 75% of what Devontae Smith was coming out. I think I'm very confident saying Evan Stewart can hit that mark. Then we have pick 27, Buffalo Bills go Isaiah Bond. They continue stacking up the receiving core there. Isaiah Bond was one of the few bright spots there for Bama last year. Excited to see what he's going to do for Texas. Pick number 28, the Bengals go Tyler Booker. I haven't studied him yet, just going to be honest, but essentially I am always down for an upgrade on the interior of the offensive line or the offensive line in general, which is why even though I get bummed out when my Steelers take a guy a little bit ahead of where I want them, it's like, hey, it's still going to be a positive addition to the team. So, you guys saw that. I still gave my team an A- and was leaning towards an A. But Tyler Booker, I'm going to definitely lean on the side of optimism there for the Bengals. 29, the Lions go Ashton Galote. This guy's a stat machine. In terms of pressures, this guy lights it up. 270 pounds. The dude, apparently he's 275, but this dude is definitely a power rusher. I didn't see very much translatability. I don't know why. He does a very good job of getting past offensive linemen, but I just don't see it as NFL translatable. But I love being able to highlight that name right there. He's a fantastic edge rusher in college. I just need to watch a bit more of him to understand how much of that can translate to the NFL. So at pick 30, the Ravens go Landon Jackson, 280-pound edge rusher out of Arkansas. He was a round 2 guy for me last year. Certainly going to be a very unique build. I don't know how much of it's going to be translatable to the NFL again. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do, but we'll see when all is said and done. Feel free to take a shot every time I say that. But we really are at a very hypothetical phase. So I want to make sure and emphasize that what I'm saying is very hypothetical. There it is. Kenneth Grant. I forgot his name earlier. Kenneth Grant goes to the Chiefs, over 330 pounds. Dude's an absolute space eater, and he's a monster too. The Chiefs got themselves an absolute steal there. He will be in my top 32, no doubt. Then we got the Niners going Walter Nolan. former Texas A&M defensive interior, now at Ole Miss. Ole Miss did a good job in the transfer portal. Walter Nolan, someone who popped off to me as of last year, if not a year ago or a year before that, forgetting which one it was, but he's somebody who definitely has great movement skills, super high upside. The defensive interior class, unlike this past year, is going to be stacked. So that's going to be the video, though. Thank you guys so much for watching, showing the love you always do. I love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.